Cool. All right, let's go. So, Crucible Challenge League. This is stuff we already know. This is stuff we already know. Okay, cool. New content features 9 new Val skills, including Absolution, Animate Weapon, Arctic Armor, Domination, Val Firestorm, Val Ice Shot, Val Lightning Arrow, Reap, and Val Rejuvenation Totem. Okay. 3 new pairs of Atlas Gateways. I'm super excited about that. New dexterity, charge up your bow, gaining stages. Release to trigger 1 supported skill for each stage gained. If there are no supported skills, but at least 1 stage was gained, the skill will fire its own arrow instead. Alright? This is going to be so good. Added a new support gem, Mana Forged Arrows. This one's interesting. Supports bow attack skills, causing them to trigger when you've spent an amount of total mana on other bow attacks based on the supported skills mana. I'm going to need the specifics of what this, like how much mana do I have to spend? Is it like once every 5 attacks? Is it every second attack? If I don't put minus mana on my gear, can I make it go off every attack? Like, what's the deal here? Spending mana on both skills makes them not usable. Well, it depends. If not putting any minus mana or anything like that at all could make it so that every attack also procced the secondary attack, I could probably go out of my way to get enough mana to do that and enough mana recovery to do that. But it would have to be quite good. Like, it would have to be like every time I tornado shot, a second tornado shot comes out with it. Like, you would have to make that really worth my time, because it's a lot of trouble if I don't make my bows nearly free. It's a lot of trouble. There's a lot of effort to go to. I can deal with it, but you're gonna have to make it worth my while to make me deal with it. Alright. Added a new intelligence support rank, Prismatic Burst. Supports attacks, causing them to trigger the Prismatic Burst spell. Cannot support triggered attacks or attacks used by things other than you. Prismatic Burst chooses an element at random and deals damage of that type in an area. Having higher strengths makes it more likely to choose fire, higher dex more likely to choose cold, and higher int more likely to choose lightning. That's interesting. +1 proj and +1 arrow work pretty much the same, right? Yeah, except +1 arrow only works for bows. But yes. Added a new momentum, support attacks that aren't triggered. Gains momentum. Okay. I don't see any. As much as I was like pretty sure I was going to start SRS, I'm not sure I can do anything except bows. Like, I think I have to start lightning arrow. Like, I don't. If you have to play SRS, I absolutely don't. The following currencies now have a stack size of 20. Alks, Varlorbs, Chaos, Tainted Chaos, Eldritch Chaos, and Veiled Chaos. Is that it? Every time you say that, remember that Spark has a Witch Ascendancy and they didn't change Poison Spark. They're both so yeah, true, but also like extra arrows. 2 extra arrows just from the tree, an additional extra arrow from the weapon set. That's 3 extra arrows. That's 3 extra arrows. That's insane. How good is that for EA though? Really good. Really good. All right, let's keep going. Wait, where was I? Ten new uniques as well. All right, whatever. Breach encounters have been approved. Now feel dense with monsters throughout the breach. The number of breach splinters drops are now affected by increase. Holy shit! The number of breach splinters dropped are now affected by increases and reductions to item quantity. Experience gained from killing breach monsters in your map has been reduced, and the number of breach splinters dropped have been rebalanced. Read that as reduced. Puffy, I give it a raid. Hey, I should turn on my alerts again. Hang on. Where are you? There? Yeah. And we'll turn that back on too. Charged and reach breach zones have been removed. Yep, cool. Now have a monster level of 81, previously 70. Ornithol is 82, previously 75. With Chalupa being 83, previously 80. Breach blessings can be used to upgrade into the flawless version. Blessings are now rarer as a result. Breach stone bosses can no longer drop breach blessings or unupgraded breach uniques. They now have a chance to drop upgraded breach uniques. Flawless breachstone bosses can no longer drop breach blessings or unupgraded breach uniques. They now have a chance to drop upgraded breach uniques. All right. Flawless breachstones no longer drop from the Maven invitations. Cool. Normal breachstones are now the only kind of breachstones offered by Kurak. Including scanning reports. Okay, cool. Harvest crafting options for splinters have been upgraded to change the stack of breach benders or normal flawless breachstone into a breachstone of another type. Breachstones now have their own item class. It's breachstones. Who would have guessed? That flares, betrayal. Rewards are now map device crafting options that can be used on breachstones. Alright. The enchanted map modifier for defeating it that fled on duty now contains 4 additional breaches, previously 5, whatever. Number of breaches in the play from other lead content such as heist has been reduced. Rate at which breaches open and close in the breach containment chamber in the house of other incursion rooms has been reduced. Okay, whatever. Otherworldly artifacts notable passive Atlas passive has no longer has rare breach monsters in your map have a 0.5% chance to drop an additional blessing. Instead now has breaches in your map 20% increased monster density. And now cause breach monsters in your map to have a 50% chance to drop a breach unique item previously 100. Okay, sure. Wither grass notable drop breach bosses. Now causes breach stones dropped by breach bosses to have a 5% chance to be flawless. Okay, sure. Flash breach notable in the Atlas passive tree no longer causes breaches in your map to have increased monster density or area. And now it causes breaches in the map to open and close 10% faster, previously 50. So they rolled a lot of this into the base of breach, and I have to say, huge yes, this always should have been a thing, because breaches were functionally useless if you didn't have flash breach. And like, I'm okay that, like, it makes sense that speccing into breaches makes breaches better, but it didn't make sense that not being specced into breaches made them literally worthless, and you might as well have not even touched it. In fact, it was bad to touch breach. Like, it should have been good and then better when you spec into it, not completely worthless and only usable when you've specced into it, right? So this is a good change. I like this. Each notable next heavy breaches causes breaches in the map to open and close 30% slower. Huh. 2 small patches causes breach in your map to open and close sprite 4% faster, previously 8. The power struggle notable in the Atlas no longer causes breaches in your map to contain 2 additional breach hand boss clasp hands. Instead, of now causes breaches in your map to have a 100% increased chance to contain breach hands and clasped hands. It also now causes breach bosses clasped hands in your map to have a 4% chance to spawn a breach boss when opened, previously 5. Alright, whatever. Orchard node now causes Chiola who dreamt in your map to have a 50% chance to be duplicated, previously 100. Same for everything else. Breach scarabs have been reviewed to account for this change. Here's how they now work. Rusted breach scarabs cause your area to contain an additional breach. Polished breach scarabs cause your contain an additional breach and causes breaches in area to contain an additional breach boss clasped hand. Gilded to contain an additional breach hand and the breach hand to drop double splinters, and winged contain 2, does the same thing. Okay. Now we've upgraded the breach uniques. The Red Dream unique deal now grants 10% of fire as extra chaos, previously 5. Alright. Red Nightmare, now 10% of extra chaos, previously 5. And passives granting fire resistance or all elemental resistance and change has been changed to block attack at 50% of its value, previously 35. No longer has passives granting an equal chance to get endurance charge on kill. Okay. The Green Nightmare has 10% of cold as extra chaos, previously 5. Same for this one. Passives to grant cold resistance or all resistance in radius, also grant chance to press spell suppress at 70% of its value, previously 50, and no longer has all elemental chance to gain frenzy charge on kill. Pog, that is 2 huge buffs, because it was really nice to get the suppression out of this, but you had to put up with getting frenzy charges, at least in our build. And I opted to not even do that because I hated frenzy charges for the altar buffs. I wanted them gone. Frenzy charges were bad. They hurt me. That got taken away, which is a buff, because frenzy charges were a downside, at least for the poison SRS build. They were bad. We didn't want them. It was something we put up with. And they gave us more suppression. So that's a double buff for us. I'm sure there are other cases in which this is a nerf, but at least for us, that's a double buff. The Dream has 10% lightning as extra chaos. And the chance to block spell damage at 50% value instead of 35. Okay, cool. And it loses the power charge. Cool, 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 cool. Severed in Sleep is now useless. It doesn't have the 60% poison chance on it, but frankly, who gives a fuck? It was never going to get used anyway. United in Dream is certainly enough. I just don't think we care that 60 to 80% increased damage is missing, or the 5% leech from like whatever. Like this is certainly a nerf. I just don't think it's a meaningful nerf. Anticipation shield. Actually, we don't care about the anticipation. We care about the surrender. $205% increase armor instead of 170. Recover 250 to 500 life when you block, previously 250. No longer provides the extra armor you block. Yo, this is huge. This is huge. The surrender is an excellent early SRS shield to use when you're like not hybrid yet and not mind over matter yet. This is if it's obtainable early. Honestly, 500 flat is huge. That's so good. All right, Infinite Pursuit unique boots. No, I don't care. Red Trail. More armor, more maximum life. No longer provides 15% increased move speed while bleeding, and instead now provides 30% move speed. Great. Ulnatol's Embrace no longer has 25% chance when hitting cursed enemies. Now just has 25% chance. Okay, cool. Whatever. The Zoph's Inception unique bow. The Zoph's Inception unique bow is now a Citadel bow base type, previously a bone. It now provides 300 life per ignited enemy killed, previously 30. It also, oh, I'm sorry. It now has 160 to 190 physical damage, previously 90% physical. It also has projectiles pierce all burning enemies, and arrows deal 30 to 50 added fire damage each time they've pierced. Hello, Poisoned SRS rip? No, Poisoned SRS slightly nerfed in some places and slightly buffed in others. Overall, maybe even a little bit stronger. We'll see as we get through. Version of the sword is no, the improved version of the sword still has it. It's only the basic version, the unupgraded version, that doesn't have the poison. And the Formless Inferno unique helmet no longer has 8% of physical damage from hit taken as fire. Armor is increased by overcapped fire resistance or armor. It now has 100 maximum life. And minion life is increased by overcapped fire resistance. And socketed skills are supported by level 30 Infernal Legion. Level 30? Interesting. Zoph's Heart is now just nearby enemies are covered in ash. Great. Tullborn unique wand is now on an opal base. No longer has cast speed or added cold per power charge. It now has 120 to 140 to 150 to 170 cold damage spells. And as cold inflicts you. Okay, that's cool. Soulful Wand is now an opal base as well. And now has 50 to 70 cold damage to spells per power charge. That's quite a lot. If you put 10 power charges on and 2 of those wands, which does involve rings. Like, that's relatively expensive, but that's a lot of flat damage. That's a lot of flat damage. They nerfed the duel with suppression. They buffed the duel with suppression. Frenzy charges were a bad thing for us. We didn't want them because of altars. Altars would screw us up because of frenzy charges, and they gave us more suppression out of it. So it's good. Good for us twice. Perfect form, unique armor no longer has 15% increased dex or armor, or Arctic armor has no reservation or 100 life. It now has 200% increased evasion rating and 50% chance to suppress spells. How can unique amulet no longer has 20% increased cold damage? It now has freezes you inflict spread to other enemies in a radius of 12. Quite decent. Hand of Thought and Motion, unique claw, is now on the Imperial Claw. Nice. And no longer adds 1 to 50 or 60 lightning damage. Adds 1 to what? Instead, it now provides 8 to 12% increased dexterity, 8 to 12% increased intellect, and adds 1 to 10 lightning damage to attacks with this weapon per 10 dex. Wait. And now adds 1 to 10 lightning damage to attacks with this weapon per dexterity. Surely that's a mistype. It also provides 5% increased critical strike chance per 25 dexterity and recovers 1% life on kill. Light adds 1 to 10 lightning damage to attacks with this weapon per 10 dex. Per 10 dex. Well, that's interesting. That's interesting. Okay, whatever. The Eshmir unique shield is now a Val Spirit shield, previously a Thorum shield. It no longer has 100 maximum life or shock reflection. It now has 230% increased energy shield, previously 100, and your shock spread. Okay. Voice of the Storm unique amulet no longer triggers level 12 lightning bolt when you deal a crit or has crit chance by overcapped lightning res. Instead, it now has 50% increased lightning damage, and lightning damage with non-critical strikes is lucky. Okay, I guess. Choir of the Storm no longer has... It now triggers... Oh! Choir of the Storm no longer has 50% increased lightning damage, but now triggers level 30 lightning bolt when you deal a critical strike. That's quite a bit higher level. Alright, let's see. Abyssal Depths now always contain a Lich, Pog. It is now possible for Stygian Spires to spawn in place of the Trove at the end. Abyssal Depths can now only appear at level 78 areas or higher, previously 70. Abyssal Depths now always spawn on the 4th hole if they were going to spawn at all instead of immediately. I kind of like that and kind of don't like that, because in the past I was able to, if it didn't spawn on the first one, I could just run away and leave it. But at the same time, if you're spec'd into abysses at all, then you want them to last longer. And when they end early, you feel like ripped off because you've missed a bunch of mobs and they're actually like quite good once you're spec'd into them. So Bit of a double-edged sword, depends on whether you spec into it or not. Well, I've had their life increased and now use their cleave skill from further away. Whatever. Some boss buffs, sure. No longer gain reduced damage taken buff upon using their skills. Instead, they now spawn. Whatever. "100% increased chance to contain a lich," as that would be silly. Now causes Abyssal map to have 100% increased chance to lead to. Oh yeah, okay, cool. E Barrel King, thank you for the 28 months.
Can't believe I missed the live stream, Sag.
Right, so we can get +1 here from the passive tree, which will give us the +1 Stygians, which is great. Dude. So we know about all of them. All right, moving on. Shroud of the Lightless body armor no longer has 10% increased life or 15% mana or level 25 elemental pen. It now has 3% maximum life per abyssal jewel affecting you, 3% mana per abyssal jewel affecting you, and you penetrate 4% of elemental resistance per abyssal jewel affecting you. There are now 2 and 3 abyssal socket variants of the Shroud of the Lightless. Huh. I don't know if it's good, but it's interesting. No, that could be really good. If you're using a 2-hander or like a 6 or 7 link pair of gloves or helmet or something like not in your chest, that could be really good. Tome Fist gloves no longer provide 6% increased maximum life, now has 10% attack speed. And you can also now roll 2 random modifiers that require specific abyssal jewel sockets from a pool of 6 modifiers. Just tuning in, had a ton going on, did the nuke SRS. Nah, we're good. Some minor changes, but we're fine. The Light Poacher unique helmet no longer has recover 4% of life. It now has a 100% chance to gain on kill and gain 5% of extras. Nah, whatever. This one's huge. The Darkness Enthralled unique belt now has 50 to 100% increased effect on socketed abyssal jewels, previously 75. I'm gonna need me a 100. Thanks. I'm gonna need me a 100. Bubonic Trail no longer provides 30% movement speed, 4 to 6% maximum life, or 10% damage for each abyssal jewel affecting you. It now has 24 to 32% movement speed while affected by a magic abyss jewel, 60% duration of elemental ailments on you while affected by a rare abyss jewel, and 16 to 24% increased reservation efficacy while affected by a unique abyss jewel. The fucking what? 24% RMR? And you can definitely have all 3. Okay. The Tricolor's Gaze unique jewel, 40% increased main hand critical strike chance per murderous eye jewel affecting you, up to a maximum of 200. Previously 20% up to a maximum of 100, and 20% the offhand critical strike multiplier up up to 100, previously 10% up to 50. Okay. All right, scarabs have been changed, so rusted's the same. Polished and causes area to spawn 50% increased monsters. Gilded has 50% increased monsters, and abysses in an area that do not lead to an abyssal depth lead to a spire. And then winged is just 2 of them. Okay. All right, cool. Ooh. All right. Atlas changes. The following maps have been added back in to the Atlas. Arid Lake, Armory, yo, nice. Burrows, Beach, Belfry, nice. Cells, gross. Chateau, Conservatory, Core, Crystal Ore, Desert Springs, Dig, Excavation, Field, Flooded Mine, Fungal Hollow, Geode, Jungle Valley, yay. Lighthouse, Malformation, Marshes, Pit, Racecourse, Ramparts, Relic Chambers, Scriptorium, Siege, Stagnation, Tower, could be good. Tropical Island, very nice. Waste Pool and Wharf. The following maps have been removed: Academy, Acid Caverns, Ancient City, Ashen Wood, Bazaar, Bog, Burial Chambers, Cage, Carcass, Channel, Courthouse, Dark Forest, Desert, Estuary, Forking River, Gardens, Ghetto, Grave Trough, Graveyard, Haunted Mansion, Iceberg, Ivory Temple, Lava Lake, Lookout, Mausoleum, Mesa, ooh, Peninsula, Inscription, Spider Forest, Spider Lair, Sunken City, and Villa. Yo! Big. Crimson Temple still exists. No one cares about any other map. Crimson Temple still pog. Dunes is still there if I want to do breach farming. No problem, buddy. Although I could probably breach farm on like Tropical Island or something instead now. But whatever. Map tiers and locations have shuffled. Cool. Map bosses, yep, everything has changed. Crafting recipes that were unlocked have changed. Divination cards have moved. Who cares? Alright, cool. Endgame changes added a series of new profane modifiers that can roll on maps, logbooks, and delve biomes and heist contracts. These modifiers cause monsters to deal extra physical damage as chaos and cause monsters to inflict wither for 2 seconds on hit. The doctor moved to Waste Pool. Alright, whatever. I just glossed over the div card changes. Where does it say that? Running battled the Doctor, the Incarnation, and the Witch can now be found in Putrid Cloister, Sepulchre, Waste Pool, and Phantasmagoria. Okay. Alright, so this profane thing might be a little dangerous for some people. Eligible modifiers that caused you to have reduced cooldown rate per power charge have been replaced with ones that cause you to have reduced critical strike multiplier per power charge. You know what? I prefer that. Is one of these things, this makes me weaker. This potentially ruins builds entirely. Like there's so many builds that revolve around like balancing your cooldown recovery rate to a certain point. And this was a really big problem. Whereas this is just like you do less damage, which is fine. Maven Invitation item quantity passives no longer provide 3% quantity of items found. They now each provide final map bosses 8% increased chance to drop a Maven invite. Oh. The number of crescent splinters dropped in Maven invitations has been slightly increased to account for this change. Cool. Harvest crafting option that applies enchantment to non-unique maps, causing them not to consume sextant charge, have been replaced with an enchantment to non-unique maps to provide a 50% chance to not consume sextant uses. Oh, that's painful. That winged scarab farm is dead. It's gone. It's deleted. It doesn't exist anymore. That winged scarab farm is absolutely 100% dead. They just removed that entire farming strategy from the game. Also, this greatly, and I mean greatly, reduces the worth and cost of elevated sextants, because elevated sextants were essentially propped up by this one sextant that was worth 80 divines. So you would spend, you know, a divine to buy only 4 of them. This, with that one sextant no longer being worth practically anything related to what it was before, I would expect you to be able to pick up fucking 25 or 30 for a divine instead of 4. Maybe even more than that. Also, there'll be significantly less winged scarabs on the market, period. Significantly less. Because this was a huge amount of the winged scarabs that we were getting before. Replica unique item rewards and grand heists no longer have a higher chance than normal to spawn with a high number of sockets and or links. That feels pointless, but okay, sure. Divination cards and Void Bone Reliquary changes. Balance of Terror can no longer be obtained. It was enabled by mistake. Really? Oh. The Iron Bard divination has been re-enabled, is now called the Rusted Bard, and now rewards 4 tainted mythic orbs. Alright, cool, whatever. We've reviewed each mastery. Right, so this is where our mastery changes are. We've compiled a list. Alright, accuracy. Gain accuracy rating equal to your intelligence is a new one. Minions accuracy rating is equal to yours. Interesting. Plus 500 to accuracy rating, minus 2 to accuracy per level. What? Sorry? A mastery that gets worse as you level up. It's just a leveling mastery. Okay. Sure. Sure. Armor mastery. Plus 1 armor per 2 strength. Okay. Plus 1 to maximum resistances if you're equipped helmet, body armor, gloves, and boots all have armor. Armor of your stationary up to 100%. 100% increase to armor from... Okay, cool. Armor and energy shield mastery. 2% chance per 5% missing energy shield to defend with 150% armor. Recover 5% of energy shield over 1 second when you take physical damage from an enemy hit. 5% energy shield over 1 second. That's not bad. 10% of armor also applies to chaos damage taken from hits. Huh. Increases in reduction to armor also apply to energy shield recharge rate. Oh. Oh. Okay. 100% increased armor and energy shield from equipped body armor if equipped gloves, helmet, and boots have armor and energy shield. Jesus, that's a lot. 10% of physical damage from hits taken as chaos damage. Okay. Armor evasion ones. Defend with 120% armor against projectiles. Okay. Increased armor per endurance charge and evasion rating per frenzy charge. Every 4 seconds, regenerate life equal to 1% of your armor and evasion over 1 second. Sorry? Every 4 seconds, regenerate life equal to 1% of your armor and evasion rating over 1 second.
9919.
Anger Elbow, thank you for the 19 months. Every 4 seconds, regenerate life equal to 1% of your armor and evasion over 4 seconds. That's a lot. New, immune to poison if equipped helmet has higher evasion rating than armor. Immune to bleeding if equipped helmet has higher armor than evasion rating. What if they're exactly equal? Do you get both or neither? I assume neither. Right, attack mastery. Non-Val strike skills target 1 additional nearby enemy. Thank God. For the people who care about that. Gain adrenaline for 1 second when you change stances for 1 second. Fuck off. Monsters cannot block your attacks. Nearby enemies are intimidated while you have rage. Nerf, by the way, it used to be all strikes, including Val versions. Isn't there literally not a strike mastery right now? Oh no, there is. Okay. Shows you how much I deal with melee builds. %25 more spell damage if you've been stunned while casting recently. 25% more spell damage if you've been stunned while casting recently. Interesting. %25% chance to open nearby chests when you cast a spell. Two questions. One, nearby. Which version? Is it the screen wide nearby version, the little tiny one, or the one in the middle? There's 3 different versions of nearby, and I'd like to know which one. And second, 25% chance? Really? Weird. Weird, but okay. Sure. Do what you want. Chaos Mastery. Recover 1% of life per wither debuff on each enemy you kill. Okay. +1 to maximum chaos res. Deal 10% more chaos damage to enemies which have energy shield. %5 chance when you inflict wither to inflict up to 15 withers instead. Okay. Claw Mastery. Gain 25 life per enemy hit with main hand claw attacks. Gain 25 mana per enemy hit with offhand claw attacks. Okay. Weird. New. Inherent attack speed bonus from dual wielding is doubled while wielding 2 claws. Ooh. New. 10% of leech is instant per equipped claw. 10% of leech. That's just all leech. Mana leech, life leech, energy shield leech per equipped claw. So if you're dual wielding claws, 20% of leech is instant. And if you take that leech mastery from the other one, you get another 10% there. So you can get 30% leech is instant. %50 increased stealth if you've hit with a claw recently. 50% increased what? Sorry? 50% increased what? What's stealth? Can I get a mod check? Wait. Stealth reduces the range at which monsters will aggro a target. If a monster would detect a target within its visible range, reduces affinity, blah blah blah. Formula can be calculated. Shit, okay. Alright. Okay, that's what stealth is, sure. Cold Mastery, what do you got? 10% chance to just inflict. Enemies near targets you shatter have a 20% chance to be covered in frost. Okay. +1 max cold. At least 10% chill. Enemies permanently take 5% increased damage for each second they've ever been frozen by you. Okay. Sure. Dagger Masteries. 50% increased projectile speed while wielding a dagger is the only new one. Okay. Sure. Elementals, new. 50% reduced effective exposure. Hits have a 25% chance to treat enemy monsters' elemental resistance values as inverted. Okay. Critical strikes against you do not inherently inflict elemental ailments. Okay. 3% chance for hits to deal 300%. 3% chance for hits to deal 300% of physical as extra of a random element. 3% chance. What's up? Oh. 3% increased light radius. 30% increased light radius. Light radius is based on energy shield. So no, what do we got? 10% less physical damage taken while energy shield is full. New. 30% of chaos damage taken does not bypass energy shield. Is that new? Is that new? Didn't that already exist? Oh wait, it was in was that in like a hybrid wheel before and now it's in an energy shield wheel? Yeah, it's right there. So it was just moved out of the hybrid. Okay. New 100% increased energy shield from equipped helmet. Okay. Evasion Mastery. Aha. 15% chance to suppress spell damage of equipped helmet, body armor, gloves, and boots all have evasion rating. So this was on the suppress wheel before. So really quick, that was something we used in the SRS build. And we will not be using anymore because we're not near any of those. So yeah, it was 12% in a mastery here. Is it? Yeah, 12%. It's now 15%, but on a mastery we can't get to, so we'll have to make up for that on SRS somewhere. We'll work that out later, it'll be fine. Alright, evasion and energy shield masteries. 20% increased maximum energy shield if both equipped rings have evasion modifiers. 40% increased energy shield recovery rate if equipped amulet has an evasion modifier. Okay. New 100% increased evasion if your energy shield recharges started in the last 2 seconds. 1% increased evasion per 5 int. Dex provides no bonus to evasion rating. That's cool. New every 4 seconds regenerate. Every 4 seconds regenerate energy shield equal to 1% of your evasion rating over 1 second. God damn. There are so many new things here. Okay. That's really cool. Fire Masteries. What do you got? Burning enemies you kill have a 3% chance to explode, dealing a 10 to their maximum life as fire damage. 3%? I don't know if that's enough for me to care. I don't know if that's enough for me to care. 50% chance to refresh ignite duration on critical strike. Okay. Regenerate 1 life per second for each 1% uncapped fire resistance. Yo, anyone remember MP's chest from the other day on Twitter? That thing had like 3,000 something fire resistance. Critical strikes do not inherently ignite. 100% increased damage with hits against ignited enemies. That is a lot of damage. Holy balls. That's a lot of damage. Okay. That's just a lot of damage. Flask Masteries. 25% chance to gain a... Wow! Didn't mean to do that. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Here we go. 25% chance to gain a flask charge when you deal a critical strike. I'm going to need to know what the internal cooldown on this is. I'm going to need to know what the internal cooldown on this is, if there is an internal cooldown. If there's no internal cooldown on this, that is fucking insane. Like, do you know how many times I crit per second? A lot. A lot. Enemies you kill that are affected by elemental ailments grant 100% increased flask charges and then recover 4% life when you use a flask. This is insane too, by the way. The fact that this is the most powerful node on Pathfinder, or I guess it's not on Pathfinder anymore. It's now for everyone, and it's insane. That is actually crazy. This is cracked. Like, I can't express how cracked that is. I really can't. Mandatory point? Not for every build, but also it's not that strong unless you like lean into it, right? Like, you do need to lean into that and flask generation and having all flagellant flasks and things like that, but it's incredibly strong. Modifier Mastery. Recover 100%, 100 life for every fortification lost. Gain 20 fortification on melee kill against rare or unique enemies. Okay, so once you've killed it, once you've killed your unique enemy, you get 20 fortification. Pog. %2 reduced duration of ailments inflicted on you per fortification. Melee hits fortify. Meh. Okay, quick question coming back up here. I'm gonna, oh man. Whatever the gain 3 charges node is called now for other stuff is going to be huge. %10 chance on hitting. All right, what do we get for impale? 10% chance on hitting an enemy for all impales on that enemy to last an additional hit. Sorry, 10% chance on hitting an enemy for all impales on that enemy to last an additional hit. That's pretty big. Okay, 20% chance on hit to remove all impales from an enemy. Impales removed this way multiply their reflect damage for this hit by the number of hits they have left. Okay. Leech Mastery. They're all new. 10% of leech is instant. 40% increased armor and evasion while leeching. 25% more damage with hits against enemies that cannot have life leeched from them. 25% of damage taken recouped as life if leech was removed by filling unreserved life recently. Okay, I understand that, but I'm not going to say that that wouldn't be a confusing sentence for new players. %25 increased maximum total life, mana, and energy shield recovery from leech. Huge. Nice. Maximum total is the only one that actually matters. Total life recovery is irrelevant. Maximum total life recovery is huge. So that's really important that says maximum. So that's actually quite good. Right, lightning, what do you got? 60% crit chance. Meh. Lightning damage of enemies hitting you while you're shocked is unlucky. Okay, sure. Life masteries, 10% more maximum life, 10% more maximum life if you have at least 6 life masteries activated. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So all of them. If you take every single one of them. Okay. 15% increased maximum life. You have no life modifier on equipped body armor. So this one specifically, I am quite happy with, but I don't want people to go out of their way to not have life on their chest. This is really good if you've got a lot of life on your gear that's flat, but the unique armor that you have or the one that you happen to be putting on just doesn't have life. This will be very, very good. Like if you just happen to be wearing a unique that can't have life, like the brass dome, but you've got, 70 on that ring and 70 on that ring and 100 on your helmet and 90 on your boots and another 80 on your gloves, and like you're good, but your body armor's just not going to have any. fucking fantastic. But if you've got like no flat life anywhere, like if you're really short on flat life, you're still probably going to get better value out of having like good prefixes with life. If like the chest is the only place you could have got it, this doesn't make up for that. But if you have decent life in other places and your chest happens to not, this is very good. Like if you're wearing a Skin of the Lords. Yeah. Plus 50. No, you count as low life while at 50% of your maximum, 55% or below. You count as full life while at 90% or above. See, that's actually pretty cool as well. Skills cost life instead of 30% of mana. Link masteries. All right, what do you got? Links take twice as long to break. Have one additional target. Linked target share charges with you. Movement speed is equal to the highest speed amongst linked players. Cool. Mana mastery. New. Regenerate 5 mana per second. Yo, that's huge at like low levels. Oh, that's an interesting point. I like that. You count as full life while on 90% life or above. Lets you reserve vitality on your life and still be at full life. That's actually a pretty interesting use of that. And then the mana mastery has 12% increased mana reservation efficacy of skills on a mana mastery instead of on a aura mastery, which is oh, also skills, not no mana efficacy of skills. That should be fine. I guess we're just gonna look for whatever the cheapest mana mastery is around us and find a way to take it. All right, mine masteries. What do you got? You gain 5% area of effect for each mine. That's the only new one. Marks, get some new ones. Marked enemies cannot regenerate life. Useful. Marked enemies cannot deal critical strikes. Useful. Marked enemy, your marks transfer to another enemy when marked enemies dies. This is much higher value than it seems. People who have played with the like bow builds with the helmet on that transfers marks will notice the like incredible amount of extra clear that you get when you can do this. However, that helmet has only ever worked with bows. This is a generic mark mastery, so if you're using wands or claws or venom gaia or whatever, that'll work with it. Yeah, I think Deadeye does that here. Yeah, Deadeye does that here. So if you're taking this node, which 75% effective marks, you probably are if you're a Deadeye, probably. It may not be particularly useful, but if you're not a Deadeye, I mean, you probably shouldn't be playing a projectile build, but hey, you know, useful to know that this is more important than you think it is. It's useful to know that. I don't necessarily know what build would use it yet, but I do know it's actually quite a lot more powerful than it appears to be. Like, you'll very much notice it if you're on a relevant build for it and you take that node, you will absolutely notice. An increased accuracy rating. Nope. Physical masteries. New. 10% more maximum physical attack damage. Interesting. Hits have a 40% chance to ignore monsters' physical damage reduction. All right. Six damage over time multiplier for bleeding per impale. Plus 6 to damage over time multiplier for bleeding per impale. Yeah, okay. Sure, whatever. Poison Mastery. No, enemies poisoned by you cannot deal critical strikes. Okay, cool. So Poison Spark is now crit immune as well. Fantastic. Fantastic. Protection Masteries. Previously resistant and ailment protection. No, 65% effective wither on you. Your elements cannot be lowered by curses. Corrupting blood cannot be inflicted on you. You cannot be maimed or hindered. You cannot be impaled. No. Damaging ailments cannot be inflicted on you while you already have one. Non-damaging ailments cannot be inflicted on you while you already have one. I mean, if you're self-ignite, self-chilling, then you're immune to everything else, which is cool. This could be interesting. Nothing jumps out like excited for me to play with this, but that's definitely interesting and someone's going to use it. All right, new recovery masteries. These are all new. 3% chance to recover all life when you kill an enemy. Meh, 3%. Life recoup effects instead occur over 3 seconds is huge. That's huge. Every 3 seconds, consume a nearby corpse to recover 10% of life. That is also huge. Especially for some necromancer automatic corpse usage stuff. That's cool. All right. Nearby enemies have a 50% reduced life recovery rate. Sure. Life recovery from regeneration is not applied. Every 4 seconds, recover 1 life for every 0.1 life recovery per second from regen. Okay. Regenerate 50 life per second. Yo, I'm going to take that in like Act 1. Yep. Abyssal Changes, anything huge? Tons of huge things, but we're still going through it. Okay, Reservation Mastery. New, +1 to all maximum elemental resistance if you have reserved life and mana. Yo. What? Okay, cool. I'll put Vitality on my life. I'll take +1 max res. Cheers. No problem. Alright, Spell Suppression Mastery. New, inflict fire, cold, and lightning expose on enemies when you suppress their spell damage. New, prevent 1% of spell of suppressed spell damage per hit suppressed recently. Minus 2% chance to suppress spell damage per hit suppressed recently. Okay. Suppressed spell damage cannot inflict elemental ailments on you. Wait, hang on. Suppressed spell damage cannot inflict elemental ailments on you. Aren't I just immune to ailments, or like practically effectively immune to ailments? Like, I know that like technically you could still put an ailment on me from an attack, but like But like that's like 95% of the ailments you get covered. Like that's, I mean, it's not true ailment immunity, but for softcore, that's pretty much fine. Like chilled ground, you just like, you'd probably, maybe you want to work on chilled ground, or maybe your build is just wearing a major blood and is fast enough to not care about chilled ground. But like, this is like, that's, I think if you're in softcore, I'm gonna call that ailment immune. Like it, you might encounter an ailment problem every now and then, but I think it'd be rare enough that you would still be able to level to from 99 to 100. Like it's not going to be often enough to cause any real problem. Like that's pretty much ailment immunity. Dies to the first lockbox after getting that out of this tree. Okay. Chance to suppress spell damage is lucky. Reddit is crying about the event only being in Ruthless. I really like what he said about that during the event. He was like, people will be upset that the race is only in Ruthless, but they were never going to win it anyway. And that was it. He's like, the people who are upset didn't have a chance. Like he literally was just like, what are you complaining about? You were never in the running. Like, what do you mean? Which, true. All right, stun masteries. These are all new. 100% increased stun threshold and 200% increased duration. Yo. %20 chance to gain charges when you stun an enemy. Sure. Yeah, this one, don't get too excited about. Chance to suppress spell damage is lucky. This is a mastery you might take on day one when you're not like geared or anything, like literally day one, but it is something you would unspec pretty quickly, and it is not a substitute for getting cap. It's like there's an argument to take this on day one when you've only got 40 or 50 or 70% while you're trying to cap it. Like there's an argument for that to be on for a really small amount of time right at the beginning to just be like slightly better, but there's no substitute for capping this. This is absolutely not worth taking over suppression cap. There is no world in which you would be like, oh, I've got 70% and I've got it lucky, so that's enough. Like that's not happening. This is like a temporary 1 point on day one, maybe to make you like slightly more tankier. You're still absolutely getting 100% and this goes away. Like it's not that impactful of a thing. Nobody get too excited about that. All right, what do we got? 50 crit multi against stunned enemies. Hits against you cannot be critical strikes if you've stunned recently. Gain adrenaline when stunned for 2 seconds per 100 millisecond of stun duration. You talked about that one. I don't know what that is. I don't understand how anyone would use that, but whatever. 25% chance to deal a stunning hit to nearby monsters when you are stunned. If this was 100, it would still be trash, in my opinion. Trap Mastery, new. 8% chance for traps to trigger an additional time. Okay. That's the only new one. two-handed mastery. We've got new ruthless hits, intimidate enemies for 4 seconds. Okay. Quinn's gonna stun himself for 40 seconds before a boss, so he just has permanent immunity. Adrenaline. Oh my god. Warcry mastery. New Warcries cannot exert travel skills. Okay. New remove all damaging ailments when you Warcry. New Warcries have a 10% chance to exert 3 additional attacks. You know, I don't play these builds, so maybe my opinion doesn't hold very much weight, but I feel like I would be way more interested in a node like this if it just says Warcries exert 1 additional attack. I don't know, these like conditional chance based things, especially on like exerted attacks being quite often much slower hits. A 10% chance to exert 3 additional attacks. A 10% chance? Pass. Like that's, if anything, it screws up your rotation. This needs to be 100% chance, even if it was only 1, right? If it was 100% chance to exert 1 additional attack, then that would be good. But this could say 10. It could be a 10% chance to exert 10 additional attacks, and I would still think it was bad. These like percent conditional things on things like this just don't really suit. All right, so it does look like they've removed all of these, which is something interesting. Precision has 100% reservation. Determination has 25% reservation. Like all of those seem to be gone. All the aura specific reservation nodes are just, they're gone. They're just all gone, which is interesting because I guess whatever. Yep. Discipline gone. Grace gone. This is actually like a humongous nerf to get rid of all of these, by the way. Every build in existence was using at least one of these, like, if not 2 or 3, which realistically, all they've done with this, getting rid of all of these and putting the 12% generic mastery on a mana node, is that what we're going to do on pretty much every single build in existence is we're going to look for the closest mana mastery node that we can get to, and absolutely every single person is going to have to go to a mana mastery. Almost every person is going to have to go to a mana mastery and take the 12% RMR. Yeah. Or perhaps we just use small clusters, at least one small cluster in like every build. Like this, I don't like that those were all removed. I don't think that's a good change. I don't like that. I also don't like this. Non-projectile chaining lightning skills chain +1 time just got removed. They literally just made Stormbrand and Orb of Storms are like the only 2 things I can even think of that use these. Neither of them were particularly strong, but it was very important. And it's just gone, which is a bit weird. Oh, and Arc, I guess. Yep. Just gone. It's just weird to have removed that. If anything, this was one of the more interesting masteries that existed. Okay, what else we got? Anything else important that got removed? How did they do that, Diggs? Oh, true. True. Okay, any of this other than the reservation efficacies, which I'm still sad about it. All right, cool. That's all of them. All right, attack clusters. New Righteous Fury cluster. Southwest of the temple starting. Righteous Fury grants 10% chance to create consecrated ground on melee kill and 40% increased melee damage that hits a coast range. Powerful bond clusters move location, whatever. A new multi-shot cluster has been added to the northeast of the ranger's starting location. Grants attacks, fire, and additional projectile. Very pog. By the way, very, very pog. Careful conservationist cluster in slightly moved location. Whatever. Bow clusters. Master Fletcher. Bows fire an additional arrow. You got no idea how much I want to start bows, man. Additional arrow there and additional arrow here. Huge. That is 2 additional arrow. Yeah. But they have teasers out now too. And the Chaos Orb changes. Yeah, Chaos Orb stacks are great. I will look at new teasers from today when I'm done with this. Small passes no longer increase 10% and 4%. I have instead give 5% attack speed with bows. Okay, cool. Entry passives to March of Fletcher. No longer does any of that shit. Now provides 12% increased damage instead of 10. Alright, cool. Also, just like straight up caustic arrow builds and shit. I'm going to be running around with 3 projectiles without having LMP in to their caustic arrows at all, which is also really nice for them. Not necessarily a build that I like to play, but plenty of people play it. Cold Cluster. The new Winter's Embrace and Glacial Cage Cluster now provides 60% increased freeze duration on enemies and 30% increased damage if you've shattered an enemy recently. Provides enemies permanently take 1% increased damage for each second they've been chilled by you, up to a maximum of 10. Okay. Small entries get 4% damage over time multi instead of 5. Granting 6%. So far. Okay, cool. Also added a third small passive skill to the Season Ice Cluster, which provides 20% increased effective chill. Okay. When does Path of Building get updated, do you know? Sometime, hopefully before the league starts, but not guaranteed. Sometimes it happens a few days before the league starts. Sometimes it happens a day or 2 after. I can't tell you. I have no idea what causes it to sometimes be early or sometimes be late. Right, Fortify. I don't actually care about Fortify. Yep, whatever. I'm sure Link is going to be interesting. But I also don't care about them. So most of these are going to be not really, like, they're hard to understand without visually seeing them. So like most of these extra clusters, until I see them on the tree and like see their location and how we pathed them and how everything looks, a lot of this isn't really worth trying to understand without the visual representation, right? It's the tree is already so complicated. Arcing Blow Clusters has moved location on the passive tree. It now resides next to the Ghost Dance keystone. That's interesting. Mark Prey Cluster has been moved to the location of Arcing Blows. Yeah, okay. I'm really going to need to see most of these clusters on the tree before they mean anything to me. Otherwise, downloads. Okay. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 new recovery clusters, which I'm just not. Again, we need to see them all in the tree. Every 4 seconds, regenerate 15% life over 1 second. Cool. Yeah. The Devotion notable passive skill no longer provides 5% increased effect of non-curse auras from your skills. It now instead provides 25% increased effect of consecrated ground you create. Nerf to most people? Slight one. Alright, what else you got? You have Onslaught, a stance cluster that has you have Onslaught if you changed stance recently. It's cool. Okay. There's a new Seasoned Swordplay cluster has been added to the southwest of the duelist starting location. Seasoned Swordplay grants 50% increased mana reservation efficacy of stance skills. Are you kidding me? You just got rid of all the other ones. Every other mana reservation efficacy of a specific ability just got taken away, which is a huge nerf. And then you add a new one. I'm so confused. I'm so confused. Okay, some stun avoidance clusters. I'm not even going to read through because until I see them on the tree, what's the point? All shouts just gained another 10% cooldown recovery, which is cool for people who used that sort of thing. Ascendancy changes. We will look at those in the picture versions in a moment. Aha, Ascendant. Ascendant. The Ascendant's Pathfinder and Saboteur got reworked. The Pathfinder no longer provides the recruit 4%. It now provides 25% chance for flasks to not consume charges, and now provides remove bleeding. That's really trash. Sorry, did they make that like really bad? Did they not put any of the new shit on it? I mean, I guess it's got the gain 3 charges still, but they put a whole bunch of new stuff on Pathfinder and they didn't add any of the new Pathfinder stuff to this. So they took away like 50% of the node and they didn't add any of the new stuff. It's fine. Taking this away was the right move. It's been moved to a mastery. That absolutely makes sense. But all they gave me was remove bleed? I feel like Pathfinder Ascendant died here. This is, I would not use this. I mean, maybe in some specific niche cases where you're trying to grab that 3 charges thing, but that's lost a lot of power. All right. The Saboteur no longer grants the regenerate 2%. Hang on. The Saboteur no longer provides regenerate 2% of life per second for each mine or trap. Now instead provides 15% cooldown recovery rate, and hits have a 15% chance to deal 50% more area damage. Okay, so Saboteur in Ascendant is no longer trap or mine related at all, and it can now be used for things like ward loop or cast on crit or whatever. So this is the old use of it was is now irrelevant. Saboteur, the Saboteur Scion is just literally just not a trap or mine build at all. Like, it's just not at all. You would never, ever, ever, ever make a trap or mine build as a Scion now. But the new Saboteur archetype, where you go for like cooldown recovery stuff, may be useful, but the idea of having a trapper or a miner that is a Scion, probably dead in the water. Probably don't do that. Those are some weird changes to what they've done. I feel like I'm really happy overall with a lot of these changes. I think they're amazing. I really feel like they just did Ascendant real dirty. I really feel like they did Ascendant real dirty here. Right, early game changes. So we added those new gems. We talked about them earlier. They're pretty cool. The large chest on Twilight Strand now contains the prismatic burst for Scion. Okay. Can it? Thank you for the 22 months.
I need more million changes in my life.
Oh, a large chest in Twilight Strand now contains momentum support for Ranger. Previously Pierce. We can't pick up our free Pierce anymore. I assume momentum is going to be some sort of onslaught thing. Like related, like a movement speed buff of some kind. But they did say that it would be like broken whenever you used a movement skill. So, It is now purchasable. Okay, cool. Momentum, which is lost when you move. Oh, I thought it was which is lost when you use a movement skill. Yeah, I'm going to want to see momentum. I don't know what that's going to be about. This snipe thing might be interesting, but they have a habit of making it so that when you have to channel stuff, you have to channel it for way too long. Like in Act 1, this needs to be giving me like, I don't know, 2 charges a second, scaling up to like 4 or 5 charges a second towards the end for it to actually be good. So I'm worried they're going to be a little stingy with the snipe thing and make it not worth. That's what I suspect is going to happen. Because like I can't stand still for more than a second, and if channeling this makes me get 2 attacks off in 1 second, well, I could have attacked once, moved, and then attacked once, and then moved a little, and then attacked once in that time. So like you need to be like it needs to be better than that. Standing still is a huge risk. A number of specific changes to primary skills, blah, blah, blah. All right, melee splash support now has skills deal 40% less damage to surrounding targets at all gem levels. Previously 50% at gem level 1 and 41% at level 20. Okay. Okay. Awakened melee splash now has 39%, previously 38. Okay. Light now has a base duration of 2 seconds at all gem levels, previously 2.5. Now deals 3.9 to 3.1. Up to 284, previously 250. Yeah, whatever. Explosive trap is now just slightly worse at low levels. Did they nerf melee splash? No, this is a less number. Deal less damage to surrounding targets. It's technically 1% better. Shattering Steel is now just worse at level 1 and slightly better at the end. Okay. Splitting Steel? Previously 100%, scaling up to... Steel can now only travel... I'm sorry, have they nerfed Shattering and Splitting Steel? Why? The base projectile speed of Spark has been reduced. It now fires 3 projectiles at gem level 1, previously 4. And 7% at gem level 20 unchanged. The base projectile of Spark speed of Spark has been reduced. Don't do this shit to me. Reduced by how much? Don't just say reduced and not tell me what. This is the most important stat in Spark. Like, by a long shot, this is the most important part of Spark. This line could ruin Spark. It could. It might not. Reduced by how much? What are you doing to me? Tell me what's going on. The timer that prevents Vile Spectral Throw from hitting the same target again has been reduced from 300 milliseconds to 225. Okay, sure. Lightning Tendrils now deals 1 to 6 instead of 1 to 4, scaling up to 1420, previously 1052. Yo, straight up like 40% more damage. Strong Pulses no longer deal 200% more damage instead with hits. Instead, Stronger Pulses always critical strike. Now releases a Strong Pulse every 3 seconds. Okay, that's actually a big nerf. Never mind. That I read this at the beginning thinking that they were buffing Lightning Tendrils, and I was like, wait, 40% more damage might make it good. Nope. Nope, that's actually bad. Explosive Concoction now consumes 1 charge per projectile fired from 1 flask of each valid type, if possible, instead of 3 charges from 1 flask of each type. Now deals added cold damage if it was a Sapphire Flask. Yeah, okay, cool. Poison Concoction now consumes 1 charge per projectile fired from 1 life flask, if possible, instead of 2 charges from 1 life flask. It now provides added chaos damage equal to 3% of the flask recovery amount if charges were consumed at level 1 unchanged, up to 11% at gem level 20, previously 9. Huh. Huh. Poison Concoction buffed? So it's gonna cost you more life charges for sure. This is gonna be a big problem for things like Occultist. Poison Concoction is gonna struggle. But if you're a Pathfinder Poison Concoction, you're probably going to be buffed. good luck playing it on anything that isn't a Pathfinder, but I think that the Pathfinders will be buffed. In an effort to make a wider variety of builds competitive for leveling, we initially considered broadening the use in cases of onslaught support, and that will allow more builds to use it. Result in Encore becoming a mandatory link. The remaining builds that could not use onslaughts will be a speed disadvantage. This eventually led to the conclusion that the removal of the support gem, in addition to a number of new support gems. Yep. Onslaught has been removed. A new momentum support has been put in its place. Items that previously granted onslaught support, like Forbidden Shaco and Hungry Loop, unique items, now instead grant momentum. Okay, cool. Excuse me. Attack and bow-based leveling. Ah! All right, hang on. I'm getting excited. All right. In order to support early attack and bow-based leveling, faster attack support and various mark skills have had their level lowered, adjusting their values to be appropriate for their new levels. These gems will scale the same or very similar in the end game. Faster attack support now has a level requirement of 8 at gem level 1, previously 18, and scales like other support gems that started the level requirement 8. It now provides skills with 20% increased attack speed at gem level 1, previously 25, up to 44 unchanged. Okay. Is available by the Marauder, Duelist, Ranger, Shadow, and Sire. I gotta tell you real quick, there's no bow build that's going to be using faster attack support. It was never strong enough to begin with. It increases your mana cost by a significant margin because you have to attack more often, and it's better to attack once and kill things than have to attack twice. So we were never using faster attack to begin with, and we're not using it now. So, sure. All these changes, the Ornament East Clause is now a level 15 faster attacks, previously 10. Yeah. Leap Slam, Blink Arrow, Whirling Blades, things like that. We'll just put faster attacks on quicker, but it's not gonna, we're not gonna put it on our actual bow skill. Sniper's Mark now has a level requirement of 4 at gem level 1, previously 24. Scales like other gems that started the appropriate. Cursed enemies now take 10% increased damage from projectile hits instead of 16, up to 35 unchanged. Projectiles now split to 2 additional targets at gem level 1, previously 3, up to 4 at gem level 20 unchanged. Okay, that's cool. Well, this is for attack and bows. Not just bows. Sniper's Mark is now offered to the Duelist and Ranger. Okay. Assassin's Mark is now 16 instead of 10. Warlord's Mark, whatever. Right, so it's just, so all they've done is put all the marks down and give us faster attacks at a lower level. Yo, look, I'm not saying that like Sniper's Mark is bad. Like it's good. I'm happy to have Sniper's Mark. But this top bit here got me real excited, and then I feel like Alright. Scepters are meant to be more cast oriented than one-handed mace counterparts. It didn't make sense that many of the early game scepters had really faster attack speeds than one-handed maces. So we should speed up the maces, right? So that they're better. The scepter bases have had their attack speeds lowered and physical damage values buffed to compensate. Did they lower mark on hit? No. No, they didn't lower mark on hit, just mark, right? Just the marks, you would have to self-cast them still. Okay, so they just made a bunch of scepters slower. No one cares. Wand and vendor recipe changes. Okay. You receive goat horn adds. Oh, goat horn adds 2 to 4 fire damage to spells and attacks. Previously 14% spell damage. Quartz adds 3 to 7 cold damage. Previously 22% spell damage. Spiraled wand is 2 to 11 lightning damage. Previously 19% spell damage. Huh. Okay, hang on. The new vendor recipe granting flat elemental damage to spells no longer exists. Weapon created using this recipe in the first few acts were powerful enough sources that they did not need to be replaced until the reach of the final few acts of the campaign, which was not ideal. No, this was actually perfectly ideal. This is actually what made spell leveling feel really good and why melee leveling feels really bad. This is actually the ideal scenario. This is perfect. This is why spell leveling felt better. And why melee leveling felt bad is because you couldn't do this. Players should be actively considering weapon replacements as they proceed through the leveling process. I disagree. I disagree. As an aspect of leveling which was undercut by the existence of the vendor recipe, this also gives spellcasters a significant advantage in early acts. Yes, it did. And what you should do to compensate is make it so that weapon builds could do the same thing. Because that was good. We also changed the implicit modifiers of many wands. Of these bases. Blah, blah, blah. While adding more consistent early flat damage. Okay. Okay, well, I mean, interestingly though, tornado wands now add 5 to 82 lightning damage to spells and attacks. Opal wands now add 29 to 47 cold damage to spells and attacks. Imbued wand, however, which is the only one you would use for attacks, not on this list. Not on the list. So it's still going to be a % spell damage on the only wand you would use for attacks. Is that what's happening? Like, is that what's happening? Did we not? We've added spells and attacks to all these things, but not listed the only wand we would ever use for attack-based wanding. Is that what's happened? Okay. All right. Okay. I feel like someone missed the mark here a little. Slinger, but no, even for Slinger you want fucking an imbued wand. You can't attack that slow, man. These are all 1.2 attack based. They could do double damage and they would still feel terrible. You need to wear 1.5s. Right. Arcane Surge, in an effort to have cast speed. Still available, blah, blah, blah. Arcane Surge now grants cast speed instead of more spell damage. That's not great. Changes to Hierophant and Ascendant as well as Minor. Well, I mean, it could be good for some people later on. Okay, instead it now causes to grant 10% spell damage at level 1 up to 20% at level 20. Okay. I mean, at least Hierophant kept the more spell damage thing. Fine. Sure, whatever. Miscellaneous player balance. This is where they hide all of the things that might be really important. Molten Shell currently outperforms other guard skills without much investment. We've reduced the amount of damage the buff provided by Molten Shell can take to bring it more in line with other guard skills. Yo, real quick, when we can't use Molten Shell, we often don't bother using a guard skill at all because the other ones aren't strong enough to be worth using the sockets for. The solution here was not to nerf Molten Shell. It was to buff the other guard skills that were too bad to be bothered using. I gotta say that if you can't use Molten Shell, you quite often just don't use a guard skill at all because none of the rest of them are good enough to be worth the sockets. Molten Shell now has buffs can take equal to 10% of your armor up to a maximum of 5,000. Previously 20% of your armor up to 10,000. So they didn't even nerf the amount of investment you had to put into it, but even if you were a straight armor character, it's now half as good as it was. And Val Molten Shell equal to 20% of your armor up to 10,000. Previously 30% of your armor up to 30,000. That's insane. Like I said, this is where all the hidden stuff that they don't really want us to read will be. It's all in here. All the hidden stuff is in here. Alright, animate weapon no longer randomly pauses when moving or attacking. As a result of this, we've changed and adjusted the attack speed and provided an animate weapon gem. Should be a neutral change, ensures the damage dealt, but result in more consistent damage. Okay. I mean, SRS is just better, so who cares? Any trigger skill on an item that come from a skill gem such as Rain of Arrows. Any trigger skill in terms of items that come from skill gems such as Rain of Arrows from Lionized Paw now share the same cooldown group. So using the gem version of a skill should put the triggered version on cooldown, or vice versa. I mean, but those Rain of Arrows doesn't have a cooldown. This change doesn't even apply to these boots. It's just an attack. It doesn't have a cooldown. This is Cosprey's and Poet's Pen. And oh my god, and Ward Loop? Cosprey's, Poet's Pen, and Ward Loop? That's a massive nerf to Ward Loop. Will this affect Mjolnir? Yeah. Maybe? I don't know, man. This one's a little confusing. It'll affect any build where you're triggering something you're also using. Like that you're also manually casting. It will presumably also affect things where you're dual triggering, right? So like when you're playing a Cosprey's build and you've got a Frostbolt in your cast on crit and a Frostbolt in your Cosprey's, so they might both trigger the cooldown at the same time, so you might not be able to use two copies of the skill. right? And the same thing for Poet's Pen, and the same thing for Ward Loop. You might not be able to put, you'll have to use like different skills everywhere. So, weird, definitely a nerf. Weird nerf targeting skills I didn't think were really already super OP. It already worked that way. It did not. You could separately trigger something in a Cosprey's and separately trigger something in your actual cast on crit setup. You couldn't put the same skill in both Cosprey's or in both Poet's Pens, but you could manually cast one or put it in a cast on crit and put one in the trigger at the same time. This makes me think you won't be able to do that. Simplified projectiles returning. Previously, some effects that cause projectiles to return specified that they only did so at the end of their flight, and others only from the final target, and a few from either case. Now, all effects that cause projectiles to return do so in any case that they can. What does that mean? Projectiles that explode or otherwise destroy themselves only when they cannot move further, such as Fireball, will now Fireball, which return, will now consistently not do so until after they have returned. Just like they don't do so before piercing, forking, or chaining if they have any of those behavior. Previously, this was inconsistent. As a general rule, if you have a projectile wouldn't do something when it pierces or chains an enemy and continues on, it also won't do that when it hits an enemy and then returns to you from them. That's a massive nerf. That's a humongous nerf. Like the cast on crit Fireball Cosprey's build, or there's like a lot of uses of returning projectiles that like did their explosions and then also came back and did their explosions again. Isn't that going to ruin that? I don't think this specifically will affect my Poison Spark, so I don't think it'll affect me, but I think that will massively nerf some things. I think it'll massively nerf something. Honestly, this is one of the more confusing things I've ever read. So I'm not 100% sure. Weird. It's weird. Projectiles from skills which force them to explode or otherwise destroy projectiles before checking for other behaviors, such as the concoction skill, will now consistently prevent returning. Okay. I didn't know poison concoction was returning. Spark has lost an unknown amount of projectile speed, so it might be dead at arrival. Yeah, we really need to know how much projectile speed we lost. If we lost like 20% of our total or whatever, okay. If we lost like 70% of our total, we're dead. I'm not playing Spark like that. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Is base projectile speed, which is scary. Yes, and projectile speed for Spark is the #1 most important stat for it. So they're hitting its most important part. Projectiles which initially fire from a specific location rather than in a direction, such as Caustic Arrow, now ignore this when returning, so they will continue past you until they hit something.
Having fun.
Okay.
Ella Keck.
Malagi, I give it a 49-month resub. Yes. Overall, mostly really happy with all the patch notes. This area where it says miscellaneous player balance, nothing but hidden nerfs so far. This is the bad news section right here. But the rest of it's been great. The rest of it's been great. this is the little hidden nerfs section. All strike skills can no longer be supported by Ancestral Call and are no longer affected by stats that cause strike skills to target additional enemies. Yo, what do you mean? We just sneak another melee nerf into this list? Power charges now provide 50% increased critical strike chance per power charge for players and minions, previously 40. Just in case you were still trying to play lightning strike, please stop. The corruption notable passive skill provided too high of a damage boost than it's reasonable for a single notable. So we've changed it so it now provides 20% increased effective weather, previously 35. Okay. Phantasmal decoy totem explode on death can now be affected by the player's stats such as modifiers to damage and area of effect. Yo, new build, explode phantasmal decoy totem with reduced duration. A previous change in 3.190 doubled the values of the aura from the Shaper's Seed unique. This was done incorrectly and only changed the displayed value on the item and not the actual values granted. This has now been fixed so the values of life and mana regen granted to allies will always match what is displayed on the item. Okay. Totems spawned by players are now killed upon player death. Rough. The modifiers to toxic step beats now cause totems to reflect 100% of their maximum life as fire. Damage to enemies now has a greater radius. Alright. Withering Step is now able to be supported by Spell Totem. What? What? Why? The bow attacks fire an additional arrow synthesis implicit modifier that can no longer roll on bows or quivers. So all the projectile and bow buffs that we got earlier that we were excited about, they're not really buffs at all. They're just the counter to this. Instead of an implicit on a piece of on an item I was always going to have, I now have to invest 8 or 10 passive points to get the exact same thing I already had. Nice, dreadful. Yeah, I mean, you're right. It does give more people access to the additional arrows. And I look fine. I get it. But for me, they just nerfed me by like 8 levels. And didn't give me anything extra at all. That's rough. That's rough. And to hide that in here. Oh, man. Okay. Another hunter and veil crafted modifiers. Chance to flask not consume. Can no longer roll. Okay. Increase the level at which Surveyor Compass can appear. as they were dropping well before awakened sextons could appear. The sword did not lose its chance to poison, by the way. SRS is absolutely fine. We're going to have to deal with how to get suppress cap. Something's going to change a little bit that way, but we're fine. Okay. Monster balances. The unique item drop chances from Katarina Master has been rebalanced. Okay. My helmet gonna get real expensive or what? The powerful minion monster modifier has been split into two different modifiers. Powerful minions, which buff the life and damage of minions, and constantly revives minions, which, well, constantly revives minions. Okay. Katava heralds in the now spawn as magic instead of rare. Okay. Rare monster modifier that triggers the purple crystals when the monster is hit now has larger crystals, and the crystals have a slightly longer delay before exploding. After the monster died, the crystals now deal chaos damage instead of elemental damage and have had their damage lowered. Okay, that feels like that got more dangerous, but okay. Curses applied by necromancers are no longer removed upon their death. What? Why? Stop it. Ruthless specific changes. Yeah, no, I don't care. Current league mods available. Essence, 3 chaos. Nice. Abyss, Essence, Ambush, Metamorph, Heist, Expedition, Harvest. Hold the phone. Hold the phone. Hold up. Hold up. Hold up. Are you telling me that while doing a rather substantial rework of the entire breach mechanic and changing all the breach stones and all the breach uniques and putting a ton of work into changing how breach works and functions both inside my map and out, as well as all of the drops, during that league, you didn't put breach on the map device? And you're giving me a breach MTX that affects the actual look of my breaches in my maps. And during this league, while reworking the entire breach mechanic from head to toe and putting in a breach hand MTX for my maps, you're not putting breach on the map device. During this league. Are you sure? Are you absolutely sure? That feels like an oversight. That feels like an oversight. I mean, I guess, 3 chaos for 3 additional essences is like, that's insane too. But yeah, there's something happened here. Like, one of these needs to be breach. I don't know who, like, can we get this changed? One of these needs to be breach, my dude. You've literally reworked the entire breach mechanic. You can't do this. Like, it needs to be breach. What do you mean? All right. Added an option to hide your account's email address. Okay. Add an option to disable tutorials for characters you access. This can be done in the game option menu. Hello? Oils required will have tax. Both Lily Roth and Siopa's shops are now color coded. Cool. added a new has implicit mod condition for item filterings that could be used to filter items that have at least one implicit modifier. Ooh. The other place they hide huge nerfs is the bug fixes. Yeah. Yep. Okay. All right. Speaking of huge nerfs that get hidden in the bug fixes, fixed a bug where the Corpse Walker unique boots were always spawning level 100 corpses. The maximum level of the corpses spawned is now capped at the area level, like Desecrate. Now, this isn't a particularly meta build or thing to do, but that is a fucking massive nerf to the few people who were doing shit with that. Humongous nerf hidden in the bug fix. Fixed a bug where it was possible to curse yourself with self-damage through the... I didn't even know this was a thing, and I would have liked to have used it to curse myself with temp chains. Fixed a bug where the Empower support would show a support letter on skill grant as a secondary effect. Letter? Because it's oh, this is the visual bug. Right, it added the support like to the icon of a skill it wasn't actually empowering or giving any levels to. Right. Okay. Fixed a bug where item modifiers granting the level of socketed skill gems were raising the level of skill gems supported. Granted by support gems in some cases. Okay. Fixed a bug where fractured modifiers, fractured amulets would become non-fractured modifier if the amulet was transformed into a talisman. Does that matter? If it's a talisman, it becomes corrupted. You can't edit it anymore. Does it matter? All right. Yeah, okay. Tainted stuff. Fixed a bug where claw projectiles from Cobra Ash had lower base projectile speed than those from daggers. All right. Fixed a bug where a host could sometimes fail to perform a counterattack if you are facing away from your attacker. Okay. Fixed a bug where Frostblink's chilled ground wasn't counted as your chilled area if the chill from Frostblink hit was more powerful than other chilled ground. Okay. Fixed a bug where it was possible to snapshot Flask's effect while using a Mage Blood. Not gonna lie, I didn't know that was a thing. Fixed a bug where Infernal Legion support did not cause supported skills to count as dealing damage over time for the purpose of other supports such as efficacy support or the essence socketed gems deal more damage over time. Huh. This Frostblink thing is massive though. People have been using this a lot. If it hasn't been working, that's actually probably a huge buff. Fixed a bug where damage dealt through summoned Stormbind totems could be reflected back to the player instead of the totem dealing the damage. Oh. Oh. Fixed a bug where Rain of Arrows skill triggered by Lion Eyes Port unique belt boots were dealing roughly 18% less damage than it should have been. Fixed a bug where offerings cast by totems, traps, or mines were being removed if the player had summoned a new minion. Who the fudge knuckle is putting their offerings on totems, traps, or mines? Triselium? Triselium? Thank you for the 4-month resub. Who was doing this? Fixed an issue. Both modifier tiers of the Abyssal Jewel modifier provided a chance to be Okay, all had the same name. Okay, cool. That's just a name thing. Fixed a bug where attacks repeated through multi-strike could target enemies not in range of the attack that was repeated. I don't know if this is a buff or a nerf. Was it targeting an enemy it couldn't reach and then not hitting it? Or was it hitting an enemy it wasn't supposed to be able to reach and it now can't? I don't actually know. Fixed a bug where Sentinel's absorption would sometimes pause play a taunt animation. Okay. Uh-oh. Fixed a bug where summon raging spirit skill. Oh, granted by the Ash Crawl unique wand. Where the damage and mana cost was lower than intended and the skill could taunt enemies. Okay. Whatever. Fixed a bug with the cast speed applied to attack speed from Willem's Requander and anomalous kinetic bolt stacked with each other. Only the higher values now applies. Aww. I knew about this and I was hiding it. Well, not hiding it. I mean, saving it is not the... Yeah, that's the word. Like, saving it. Like, I wanted to make like a totem build with it at some point when I was like rich and bored. Because it really wasn't that strong. It was just really pretty. Hiding's not the right word because it wasn't like hidden. Like it was already a thing people knew about. I was just saving it for when I wanted to do something like fun and cover the screen in projectiles. And it really wasn't that strong. I feel like it didn't need to get nerfed. It wasn't like super OP or anything. It was just good enough. Anyway. Fixed a bug where Val Cleave's buffs provided more cleave damage with hits and ailments to... Okay, whatever. Fixed a bug where the Searing Exarch Alter modifier, which provided increased quantity and rarity of items found in the area, had incorrect quantity value range. It has been updated to 10 to 20%, previously 10 to 30% to match Eater of Worlds. Aww. Fixed a bug with was provided increased quantity and rarity of items found had incorrect increased value ranges. I'm sorry, was this just a visual? Did we think we were getting up to 30%, but we never were? Or was it giving more than you intended? Giving an extra 10% quant from red? Yes, but also the red quantity ones are far more like they're dangerous and we had to work around them, but that was fine. So this is just a huge nerf to quantity alters from red, right? Gonna be here in at least 45 minutes, probably. Yeah. Okay. Alright, fixed a bug where empty favorite slot maps were counted as different maps when you're shaping the Atlas Keystone. Okay. Fixed a bug where Ravenous Digesters were dealing damage, creating ground effect when pop. Fixed a bug where Ravenous Digesters pustules were not dealing damage or creating ground effect when popped. I'd rather not even learned this mechanic. I mean, I agree. Why don't you just leave that bug in? Like, they don't need to create... We don't need more ground effects. That's just not a thing. We just don't. I don't know if shape change fixed a bug where notables revealed only when you equipped an item anointed with them would not display on the passive tree until you changed areas. Who cares? Fixed a bug where items enchanted with like all sockets are green could be overridden. Okay. Fixed a party bug. Fixed a bug in party. A heist contract could drop for players that had not encountered the relevant heist rogue. Okay. Grasping vine skill used by the Foundry map boss and fixed a bug where the grasping vine skill used by Foundry map boss and metamorph versions of the Bramble Valley map boss disabled travel skills. Were they not meant to? Is that fixed now? Okay, cool. Fixed a bug with sand snippers, shield crabs if you exploded them. Okay, whatever. Some display issues. Fix the description where it's just a description one. All right. Perfect ground stated that they have 1% chance is actually 100%. Okay, cool. Fixed a bug where the animate weapon incorrectly stated it was possible to make. Fixed a bug where animate weapon skill gem described incorrect description incorrectly stated that it was possible to animate 6 socket weapons if specifically targeted. It is unable to animate 6 socket weapons. I have personally lost several 6 sockets and a few 6 links to animate weapon. When did that change happen? Because it was definitely able to in the past, and I don't remember ever reading that patch note. That must have been sometime relatively recently. Fixed a bug with a charge dash description. Did not mention that it requires a melee weapon. Still was missing text for. Cool. The Hexoom support indicated that it could support arc skills and Bane. Fixed a visual bug where Hydrosphere would pop out of existence. Wonky interaction between the floor of the Atlas hideout and certain map device microtransactions. Okay. Action between Divergent Dash, phasing, cat stealth, and 2 client crashes. Okay. Well, overall, very happy with most of this. I do have to say that a lot of this bug fix area and that other place that we read, the bug fix and the what is it? Miscellaneous player balance. A lot of those 2 areas, full of nerfs. Full of nerfs. They just moved all the nerfs off the patch notes down to the bottom so it looks like little bug fixes and nobody reads them. But other than those 2 areas, the rest of this I'm mostly happy with. Overall quite positive. SRS is still definitely fine. A few tiny questions. One being, why did we remove all of the aura specific RMR nodes? That feels silly. I don't think that should have been done. And the second one is, how much are you slowing down my spark by? Because without like all the cluster jewels, spark is already pretty slow and not great without getting into clusters. So yeah. All right.